Absolute geezers, welcome to a special edition of Tales of a Groundhopper. Absolutely looking forward to this. I've been pumped all week. You've seen me driving into work, moaning about the week ahead, but this has been something that I've been really excited for. The guys I've got coming on, they're all waiting in the wings. We've got some questions to run through. So first, I think it's only right that we have an intro. How good is that, lad? An intro for you all. How good is that? I'm so good to you all. How you doing?
Excuse me, where was my Twitter name?
Mate, 2 minutes before you come on, I thought, I haven't got an intro for bloody Gibbo. And I had to cut the poor bloke off.
Why did you cut out Johnny Marr out of his photo, the Smiths legend?
Exactly. Johnny Marr loves on me.
If I had my time again, I'd certainly do better. Right, guys, joining us today. Before I say it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share it to your friends and like the video. But more importantly, today I'm joined by Gibbo. I'm joined by Matt Harrison, Max from Emma's Ground Guide, and of course, Nate, the Terrace Traveller. How are we all doing, guys?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Very good.
Spot on. As you can all see, Gibbo's got a lovely plant in the background, which I'm sure he'll tell us all about in a while. And he is trying to sell some tomato plants. So if you're looking for some tomato plants, hit him up on his Instagram and his Twitter. So guys, look, thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate it. We've got some brilliant questions to go through today, and we've also got some questions that people have been putting in throughout the week. So let's get into the crux of it. First and foremost, how are we all feeling about football coming back soon?
Good.
I'm not bothered. I think it's overrated, to be honest.
You would say that. You're a Bolton fan. Max, I can see you on your Twitter that you and Emma have got some stuff planned. Is it all ready to rock with you?
Yeah, it's like I said, the last few weeks it's been just waiting for the fixtures to be released. We've been getting more and more information, and yeah, the excitement's certainly growing.
Yeah, I agree. Nate, obviously the footballer amongst us, the sportsman. I hear you've got a game soon. Are you all prepared?
Yeah, I've been out this morning for a bit of a kick around. Out tomorrow morning as well. But yeah, Tuesday I've got a friendly, so that'll be nice.
And then one of us, who's in the bad books, it seems every day whenever I go onto his bloody Twitter, has been at the pub today because they don't live in England. Matt, how was your pub, mate? How was your pint?
Yeah, it was all good. Yeah, and not to upset you even more, and I know Gibbo's in the same boat as me here. I've got a 2-week holiday because I'm a teacher as well, so more to go to the pub.
Well, it was great seeing the guys. So what we will... I'm only joking. So anyway, enough of that. I'm only joking. So let's crack on with the questions. There's plenty to run through, and I'm really excited to go through these. I'm going to go through one by one. I'm going to start with you, Nate, and I want to know what's the most bizarre goal you've witnessed on your travels?
Yeah, good that you're starting with me. I was having a good think. It's hard to know what your class is a bizarre goal, but one that I'm going to talk about didn't actually go in, even though it was counted. I went to Anglesey in 2019 for the Island Games, and Jersey v Orkney was the tournament opener, and Jersey were 4-0 up at half time, and then second half they brought this guy called George Glitherow, and he basically put the ball into the side netting. It looped up over the side netting and down the back of the goal, and somehow the linesman, the referee, gave it. And everyone in the stand was absolutely perplexed to how. And I remember they had like tournament officials behind the goal as the game carried on, checking for extra large holes to see how it could have gone in. And even after I wrote my blog about it, I had some people on Twitter going, "It definitely went in." I was stood behind the goal, and I was like, "Well, it didn't." So, so there, yeah. So that's possibly the most bizarre goal I've seen for the fact that it was given and didn't actually even go anywhere near in, but. yeah, they won the game 5-0. Orkney were down and out by the first half anyway, so it didn't really make that much difference. But yeah, it's possibly the most bizarre goal I've seen.
Just wonder if the manager of Orkney goes in and says, lads, we've been beat by a freak goal today. Don't let it get your heads down. We'll crack on. We'll move on from this. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I struggled with this question a little bit, to be honest with you. So again, like Nature said, it depends what you count as a bizarre goal. So two came to mind, but they're sort of for good reasons rather than controversial reasons, I suppose. I was thinking of last January when I went to watch Malaga in Oviedo, and it was sort of it was my first season experience in VAR, I suppose, and Oviedo had a free kick on the edge of the box and they were about to take it, and all of a sudden the ref came sprinting towards the away end, gave us a penalty, and we were like, oh, cool, but none of us knew why, and we scored the penalty. But actually I'm going to go for an Everton Colliery's goal, Gibbo, which I'm sure he'll be very happy with.
Gibbo's like this. That's one of mine. Fucking gone. Right, that's it.
But it's a brilliant goal, and I don't know. Does Gibbo know which one I'm going to say? I'm going to ask him first.
Well, mine is a Coles goal, but you weren't at the same game as me, so
Okay.
I'm really intrigued to know which one it's going to be.
Okay, is it Hulk or Old Boys?
Yes, I know which one you mean.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was 1-0 to Coles, and it was the year Coles were going for promotion to the Northwest Counties Premier, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gibbo. And obviously, Hulk or Old Boys is on a very, very steep pitch, and it'd been a very scrappy game, and Coles put a cross into the box, and the ball must have been about an inch off the floor, and the prolific striker, Mark Battersby, scored a diving header from a ridiculous angle, and it somehow went in the top corner, and we were all sort of looking at each other thinking, what's happened? But it was brilliant, but it was bizarre. So that's
a proper goal scorer's name, Mark Battersby. That is the elite, isn't it? That to me is Football Manager legend. You know, when you get this new gen striker that you nurture through the ranks and you bring him up and he scores a bucket load of goals. That is the name, isn't it? That's a quality name.
He scored over 60 goals for us that season as well. And in midfield, we had Nathan Battersby providing the assists. So, Battersby is a goal-scoring name.
Love that. Absolutely love that.
He was a bit of a character as well, I seem to remember. So that's all.
Aren't they all the Battersbys? I'm thinking of Coronation Street, aren't I? Right, we'll go to you, Max, for this one.
So it's funny that Nate mentioned his. It's sort of a similar one to that, I think, but the opposite. So it was Crewe versus Mansfield. I think it was maybe 2 seasons ago. And it was sort of a goal, but nobody had realised that it had gone in. So one of our players, I think it was maybe Ollie Finney, ran into the box, the tightest angle possible, shoots it in. Everyone thinks it's hit the side net, and no one has a clue. But it's in. All the Crewe players go off to celebrate, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are they doing? It's a goal." Everyone was going back to the halfway line. There's I'm not sure if it's on Twitter or YouTube. There's the commentary of the Crewe commentators, and they're thinking it's a goal kick. They're thinking it's gone wide, getting ready for the goal kick, and it's like, where are the players going? Why are they all going over there? But yeah, it was tight angle past the keeper in the bottom corner.
Honestly, I'd be livid because I'm not the best of the calmest of people. I'd be livid if it was against me. I'd absolutely be livid about that. Gibbo.
So mine, it wasn't a goal, and it's more of an argument and a rant against goalposts that can be moved. So we were playing away at Wigan Robin Park in the Northwest Counties Division 1, and I think it was Matty Boland, who I think Matt might remember from his Coles days. He's through on goal. I think we're 5-0 up at Wigan Robin Park. For those of you who know Wigan, or ever been to the DW, it's like the athletics track next to it. So Wigan Warriors use it now, but they have to roll the goals out, and he's through. He hits it so well towards the bottom left-hand corner, and then it bounces out, but it's bounced off a wheel that's inside about 10 centimetres inside the goal. It bounced out off the wheel, and the referee said that it's hit the post, and it's gone miles over the line, but it does look like it's hit the post. So yeah, that's why I think in World Cup finals they don't have goalposts that are wheeled out before the match. You know, they just have those stationary ones that are quite good.
It's just the UEFA delegates that they have that they wheel out, isn't it?
Or they have those goals in US '94 where Diana Ross took the penalty.
Yeah.
I think the most bizarre goal I've seen, and I think I've probably spoke to one of you guys about it on the podcast, but for people who aren't listening, it was a goal round the corner from me, a team called Alscott Heath, and they were playing. I can't think of the team they were playing. Anyway, they were 6-0, 6-1 down, and it's the last sort of 3-4 minutes of the game. The midfielder plays an absolute peach of a ball over the top. Striker runs onto it. Keeper absolutely wipes the striker out, like completely wipes him out. The ball's rolling towards the goal. It slows down. The centre back of the team just hammers it into the back of the net. The ref goes, goal. The centre back goes, what? It's a penalty. So this centre back trying to claim a penalty against his own goalkeeper, which would obviously have resulted in a red card. He's absolutely. I was stunned. In fact, I'm gonna have to show the footage. I'm gonna put it on Twitter after this. You'll laugh at it. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, some bizarre goals there, which is what I like to hear. Now, moving on to the next one. It's quite a controversial one because they don't get a very good. Well, they don't get good press at all at the moment, so we're probably going to batter them even more here. But
is it Pretty Patel?
Sorry,
is it Pretty Patel?
No, that's next week's show. Worst refereeing decision you've seen? I'll start with you, Gibbo.
All right. Can I be really selfish and talk about two?
Yeah, of course you can.
Sorry, boys. So the first one.
You take your time, mate. We're keeping Matt from the pub, so take as long as you want.
Yeah. So the first one, you need to imagine a bald goalkeeper. Okay, you've all got that image in your mind. FA Cup, first round. He's racing out of his net, 1-on-1, and he comes out of his area and he heads the ball away from the Colwyn-based striker. Suddenly, the referee blows his whistle and he sends him off for handball. Everybody in the ground think, but he's headed it. He's showing the ball print on his bald head where he's headed the ball. He's still sent off. This is the Coles goalkeeper, by the way. If you've ever been to Coles, he got sent off at the far goal, so he has to trudge all the way up, and he's not the calmest of people. And as he's going through the retractable tunnel at Coles, he then punches the exterior of the changing rooms and breaks his hand. So we got the red card rescinded. It was actually the day that I saw UEFA's building in Geneva that it got rescinded. Now, I'm not saying I went out to Geneva to get the red card rescinded. Yeah. So justice for Greg. So yeah, we did get the red card rescinded, but he was out for a month with a broken hand then, so it was a pointless argument.
That's amazing.
So that's the first one. The second one happened this season. But this is a bit of a cheating one. I wasn't there, but it was a Coles game, but I have to share it with you. We were playing Bamber Bridge, and the Bamber Bridge defender got down on all fours in the penalty box and headed the ball back to his goalkeeper. And he picked it up. And I didn't know at the time that this is like classed as ungentlemanly conduct. And an indirect free kick can be awarded. He was sent off. An indirect free kick was awarded. The Bamber Bridge goalkeeper lost his head and kicked the ball at our striker. And we scored from the indirect free kick. It was like a rebound off the post and an own goal. It was just brilliant. But everybody didn't understand this refereeing decision. But having gone back and read the laws of the game, he was spot on. So I thought I'd put that slant on it rather than giving a referee a hammering as well.
I mean, how many of us, when we used to play football, I mean, Christ, it was a while ago for me, but if you're with your mates, that's all you wanted to do was like hands and knees, especially if it was close to a goal. You see it on YouTube, don't you? Players that do it and then they get absolutely roasted. Bollocks for that. If you can do it. Was it Verratti that did it as well? Didn't Verratti get pulled up for Paris Saint-Germain? I think he'd done something similar to that and he got pulled up. I didn't realise there was a law against it though. But that one with the broken hand, mate, that's hilarious. And it's just, I've just got visions of you outside UEFA with that. Just banner.
I've got the tweet somewhere.
You've got Blatter
Yeah,
out,
I've got-
Platini out.
I love the idea of Sepp Blatter Googling Everton calories as well. And like, who are these guys?
Give him what they want. He's been out there for 2.5 hours. Max, I'll come to you, mate, for worst refereeing decision you've seen, bud.
So mine's, as someone who's quite new to non-league football and ground hopping and all that, used to watching Football League where players love to dive around on the floor. They get tucked and they get given a free kick. One of the first games we went to watch our local side, Newark, there's a striker called Sam Agar, and he's, I think the best word to describe him is a bit of a shithouse.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, one of the first games I'd seen Newark in. The ball was right by the corner flag, nothing really going on. He comes about 5 minutes into the game. He comes flying in, knee high challenge, nowhere near the ball, straight into the player. The player's on the floor. The ref doesn't even do a foul. It's obviously nearly a leg break, red card all day long, and the ref waves play on. The other team are like, "What are you doing, referee? Have you seen what he's done?" And he's walking off laughing, like, away with the best I've ever seen. And yeah, the other team almost walked off the pitch. They were so angry at the decision. But not even a foul.
It's funny because, do you know something? I had the manager of Dudley Town on the Sunday Social that I do. Shameless plug there, Sunday Social. And,
Stop name dropping. That's a shameless name
I can't help it, mate. I can't help it. I've been talking about you four all week to the wife. She actually knows my friends now. It's brilliant. Yeah, I go, like, she'll say something. I go, like, "Oh, Matt's at the pub again." She's like, "Who's Matt?" I'm like, "Oh, lad off the podcast. Have you ever met him face to face?" Yeah. But he said, Matt from the Dudley Town boss said that there are referees in non-league that they'll let things go against certain clubs. And it's quite bizarre to hear because, as Max said there, you know, being used to Football League, refereeing and blah blah blah. In non-league, it does happen, and it's quite shocking when you think about it. It does happen to certain clubs, but I'd be if I was manager of the team, I'd take him off the pitch. I wouldn't have it. Nate, I'll come to you, mate, for your worst refereeing decision.
I actually couldn't think of one in particular. You get so many kind of odd decisions in non-league, and when I've played Sundays, we never seem to get a proper ref. It normally has to be a coach from either side, so that makes it even worse. But a guy that's been in the news quite recently, Darren Drysdale, for squaring up to Alan Judge. I remember watching a Crew game when I was a kid, and I can't remember what he'd done. It was possibly just one terrible game, but I remember absolutely hating the guy after a Crew match. And every time his name came up, my blood would just boil. Even if he was reffing someone else in League 2, League 1, or I don't know if I'd ever seen him come back to Crew, but I remember absolutely hating him. And I'd almost forgotten who he was completely until a couple of weeks ago. He popped back up on the Twitter squaring up to Alan Judge, and one, I couldn't believe he was still going, and two, it didn't surprise me that he was getting up to some nonsense like that. So I guess possibly the worst refereeing performance I can remember is Darren Drysdale, but for the hell of me, I can't remember any specifics to why I didn't like him as a kid. But
it was a bizarre situation, wasn't it? I mean, I spoke about this on the other show, and like, in fact, I'll get all your guys' opinions on it actually, because I haven't spoken to you guys about it. I mean, what camp did you guys sit in? Before I come to you, Matt, with that question, but what camp did you sit in? Nate, were you for? Well, you were definitely against him. You ate the guy's guts. So you're probably saying get rid of him. But you know, the amount of jip that referees get. Were you sat there thinking, yeah, do you know what? Fair play to him. He's actually stood his ground there. Or were you thinking, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what the final outcome was. I've not really read too much into it. But if Alan Judge has said something that's rattled him, then fair play for reacting, I guess, because refs do have to put up with a hell of a lot from players at any level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see how he would have reacted like that for something that might have been classed as minor. So I'm guessing something would have been said somewhere, and he's kind of just balled over a bit. But yeah, I remember at the time thinking it was quite funny that someone's probably rattled him so much that he's had to square up to a player.
It was Alan Judge's face, wasn't it? When he turns, he's like, oh Christ. Gibbo, what do you reckon, mate? Were you for or against?
I don't think Drysdale went far enough. I think he should have properly threw his toys out the pram. He should have stripped off You should have given Judge his kit. If you can do a better job, wear it yourself. He should have stood there in his knackers. Just I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah. So yeah, I love seeing him square up to him. They get so much abuse. Give a bit back.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Because it can't go the same way as rugby. Like I was watching Lee versus Wigan last night, and something had happened, and the offending player kept arguing, and then they agreed, and the referee went, "Off you go, sir." I just thought, calling this little lad from Wigan sir, and then you've got in football Drysdale squaring up. So
he's a bit of a unit as well, isn't he? He's a bit of a unit, is Darren Drysdale, to be fair to him.
Well, I don't remember him having a beard when I lost my head with him when I was about 12. So maybe this beard's given him like an extra lease of life.
Mate, that's why we grow him. That's why we grow him, mate.
I wish I could. Seeing that Drysdale has started some kind of hormone replacement therapy? Is this an exclusive?
Yeah, more hair on his chin than his head, so who knows?
I'm not saying anything. I'm starting to lose it at the back.
There's nothing wrong with
that. Max, were you for or against, mate? Were you for or against what you did?
I feel like I can't really add much more to what Joe's added there. It's sort of the refs get so much stick, and you see when players get something like that, they'll be squaring up to each other. So it's very similar to that, isn't it? He's obviously said something to wind him up, and the amount that they do get stick for it to have finally sort of made it boil over the top. I don't know what he said, but I don't think that's even come out, has it? And so it would be interesting to know what was said and what was done to make him react like that, because you've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah,
he asked him where his beard had come from.
Matt, before I come onto your worst refereeing decision, what were your thoughts, for or against?
Yeah, I suppose as like football in general, we like theatrics, don't we? We love being outraged. Well, not us personally, but generally the press love finding something to find outrageous. And he didn't really do anything, did he?
No.
It's, I'm from Merthyr Tydfil. You do that in Merthyr Tydfil, that's a handshake. So I don't think he did much wrong, really.
I like that. What about refereeing decisions? What would you say the worst one you've seen is?
I struggled with this, to be honest with you. I realised there's probably some I've seen and I just can't remember. But I thought of two, and I'm going to do what Gibbo said and pick a game quite recently, which I wasn't at because of the way football is at the moment. But Malaga Oviedo, that seems to be a good place to go for these answers. Malaga were 1-1. And a pass was made across the box, and an Oviedo player fell on the floor and put his hands down and blocked a certain 6-yard chance. And the referee went to VAR, he gave a penalty. But apparently the rules are, if you're supporting your body, you can't give a penalty. So that was a new rule to me. But
you do that. You think you'd do that every 5 minutes, wouldn't you? Oh, I'm on the floor. There's nothing I can do.
Well, Malaga's manager made a good point. What if all the defence that lied on the goal line do press ups?
I wasn't thinking of press up, Matt. I can't do press ups, mate.
Thinking of ones I've seen live, I'm going to use this as an excuse to mention one of my favourite games ever, where I was there in 2002 when Wales beat Italy 2-1 in the Millennium Stadium. It was the Italy of Buffon, Nesta, Cannavaro, Pirlo, Del Piero, Montella. I think Montella played. And we were 2-1 up thanks to a Craig Bellamy goal. And Mark Delaney of Aston Villa fame played the ball to Craig Bellamy down the wing. And I think it might have been Gattuso wiped him out. So the ref gave a free kick. The stadium was so loud that night that Bellamy run through on goal and scored, and it was 3-1. The stadium was celebrating for about 2 minutes, and then we realised that a free kick had been given instead of a play on, and if it'd been play on, we would have been 3-1 up against this amazing Italian team, and we did beat them in the end. But it was, as a 14-year-old, it made it very tense at the end.
It's not so bad when it goes like that, isn't it? Whereas if they'd have equalised, Jesus Christ.
I just wanted an excuse to mention that game, to be honest with you. So
no, that's fine, mate. That's fine. I think before we go on, the most bizarre one I've seen, I watched a game, Christ, it seems like an eternity ago now, actually watching a game live, but I watched the game between Pershore and Cradley Town in the West Midlands Regional Premier Division. And the referee gave a free kick. It was coming together of like 3 or 4 players, and the ref hadn't got a clue. He went to linesman, and I'm stood by the linesman filming, and he says, which one was it? And the lino said, I haven't got a clue. He went, oh, number 11 can have it. It's fine. I'll just give it number. And he went, number 11, yellow card. And I was like, what? And I said to the lino, I said, have I just watched that? He goes, don't put that in your footage. I thought, well, you just blatantly cheated. But there, Chris Sharp says, I've seen too many bad refereeing decisions to remember genuinely. I think it's a tough one. Look, I think the issue before, I don't want to delve on it too much, but VAR is VAR. Everyone hates it. It's too much. It's too little. Whatever. It was there to help the refs. I think if anything, it's a hindrance. I think referees now, you're seeing in the Premier League, in League One, in League Two, anything that's got VAR involved. I think refs are sometimes too afraid to give decisions because they're worried about what VAR are going to do if they're going to overturn and make them look stupid. So it's one of them. I don't think we'll ever get any better with it, I'm afraid. Next question, and I'll start this one with Max. The happiest you've ever felt after a game?
There's a few here. I say that there's not many supporting crew. A lot of negative, but the main one has to be Coventry in the Johnson's Paint Trophy. So the area final, so basically the semi-final over 2 legs, and it was first leg was at Coventry. They made it £5 a ticket, and I think they basically said, if you bought a ticket for this game, you were on the first dibs for the final at Wembley, so all the Coventry fans snapped them up. It was a complete sellout at the Rico, so 38,000 there. They were expecting a crew. They were all there. I think at half time it was 0-0. We hadn't had a shot. They'd had about 25 shots. Our keeper had the game of his life. And we're thinking, why have we bothered coming here? We're going to get battered. It's over. And with our only 3 shots, we scored them all, won 3-0. There's 2,000 crew fans in the corner. And yeah, all these 30,000 fans expecting a walkover and straight to Wembley. They were all leaving 20 minutes before the end. It was just brilliant. Obviously, supporting crew, you don't often get 2,000 away fans. It was just a great atmosphere the whole game. Even the first half when it was 0-0, we're getting battered. It was fantastic.
No better feeling, is there, when you get a win?
Especially against a team that's, like you said, supporting crew. Coventry are supposed to be this massive club, and a little old crew to turn up in their backyard and score 3 past them. It was brilliant.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Nate, all the way through that, Nate, I'm assuming, was either at the game or knows like he's a crew fan. He was smiling like a Cheshire cat. Nate, were you there?
That was actually one of the games I had penciled in for the one I regret not going to.
Oh,
yeah. I was living down south where I am now. So a Tuesday night in Coventry wasn't an option, and I remember thinking at the time, like Max, thinking, well, there's no point me even going to try and get time off work and try and go up because we'll probably get battered anyway. And like you said, 30,000 at the Rico. I think it's only sold out 2 or 3 times, and one of them was that game. And yeah, we absolutely turned them over. And then I think the home leg, I didn't go to that either, but I think the home leg, it was 0-0 up until 90 minutes. I think Coventry scored twice in injury time to make it 3-2 on aggregate, and we still made the final. But yeah, I went to the final, and my happiest games, I think me and Max have spoken about this before, actually. My happiest games have been watching crew win at Wembley twice, 2012 and 2013. I don't think Max...
Max don't talk about our Wembley wins, please.
Sorry. But yeah, I spoke about it on the pod with you last time down, and I don't think those days could be beaten. And I feel sorry for you, Max, that you didn't manage to go.
Yeah, of course you do. Is that so? That's your happiest one, is it?
Yeah, both of those.
I don't think you can beat watching your team win twice at Wembley. Whereas Shrewsbury Town, where I'm from, they're cursed at Wembley, and I don't think they've ever actually won there. So I've honestly said they should play pre-seasons at Wembley just to get the monkey off their back. Just play like a Sunday League team, absolutely destroy them, and that's it. They've won at Wembley. Don't worry about it. Gibbo, I'll come to you, mate. What's the happiest you felt after a game?
I think I might have misread the question a little bit because I didn't really think about whether a game made me happy. I took it as in like, right, I'm back home. I'm happy now. And that...
hang on. We've got justice for Greg, and we've got right. I'm at home now. I'm happy. Let's go with that one. Let's go with that one.
So, I'm quite happy you brought me on today because tomorrow marks the 5-year anniversary of this momentous afternoon that Matt and I had out in a little Staffordshire town called Kidsgrove.
Hang
on a sec. I tell you what, lads.
Hi. So,
Jesus Christ.
Now, this day, I mean, if you've never been to Kidsgrove, it is hell on earth.
I grew up near Kidsgrove. I didn't think it was that bad, but
well, one of my former colleagues at the time when we met there was from Kidsgrove, so we were sort of apologising to him in advance for what we were going to write about it. But go on.
I think the creativity of the town is summed up through the badge literally being a dancing goat in amongst three trees. You know, it's like it's a catchphrase for badges. But it was just.
How have we got onto this? I'm just
It was just horrendous. It was an Easter Monday, and Matt was like, "Oh, we'll go to Kidsgrove tomorrow or whatever."
Yeah, because my mate lived there. That was right.
Yeah. So I thought, great, another one ticked off. We got there. Was there anything there? Absolutely not. So all the pubs were shut. I say all of them. I think there were like 2.
No, there was one. There was one we found pre-match. I remember that. And we were just wandering around aimlessly, like, this is grim.
And there was a tanning shop called Tanzania, which that was a highlight. And then we could see one last pub up the road. I thought, if this isn't open, there's a Lidl there. So we could have ended up drinking in Lidl car park in the hometown of Mark Bright.
He's not even joking. We talked about doing that. I remember talking about doing that.
And then we got to the ground. We were a little bit delayed because Matt's colleague had to go and feed his turtle.
That's true.
Yeah. Then I ended up leaving my bag in somebody else's car. And, I was just so happy when I was home. So that's the happiest I've ever felt after a game. Because Kidsgrove, if you haven't been, it's boring. There's just, why are they even bothering?
Well, that's
I love how we've gone from Wembley finals to bad days out in Kidsgrove for happy.
I love it, especially with the question happiest. It's brilliant. Matt, I'll come to you, mate. I mean, how'd you top that first and foremost?
I feel like you should just move on, really. No, I did. Like, obviously, I've been quite lucky. I've seen Swansea promoted to the Premier League at Wembley. I've seen them lift the League Cup, our only ever trophy at Wembley, which Gibbo was at as well, actually. But we'll leave that. But I was thinking, like, were they truly happy? I remember the promotion day. I was living in Liverpool at the time, and we beat Reading 4-2. And I remember after the game going for a few beers in London and then getting the train back to Liverpool with my friend Tom, who's also a Swansea fan. We're like, right, get back to your flat, get changed. We're going out in Liverpool to celebrate. And we both text each other like, I'm just knackered. That was so stressful. Let's just call it a night. So I don't know if there was a weird sort of happiness. And the League Cup final, I suppose, Bradford fans were amazing that day. There was more their day out, and the fact we won 5-0, without being disrespectful, it was quite effortless for Swansea, really. It sort of took away some of the tension of the day. So it was sort of, we had it wrapped up by half time, really. So I was trying to think of other ones. And I think I mentioned one when I did the podcast with you, Dan, about the meet you game against Arsenal, as we always call it. That
everybody needs a bit of meet you in their life.
Everybody, yeah, the t-shirts are being printed as we speak. But yeah, because that was like 90 minutes of a proper duel, and then meet you scored twice post 90 minutes, and then like when you leave the stadium, you're still sort of shaking and excited, and it was at a time when we were really good. And I remember we were in the pub before the game saying, like, this is as good as it's going to get. Like, we need to enjoy this. And there was that sense for a few months. And then it wasn't as good as it got, because then we won the League Cup final and played in Europe, which I'll come to links to one of the other questions later. And then the other one I thought was when we beat Cardiff 3-0, when Gary Monk's first game, good day out in Swansea. It was we weren't doing particularly well at the time, and we just hammered them. Yeah, there's so many answers to this. The other one I thought of actually, and I know Gibbo came to visit me in Slovakia and visited my Slovak town where I lived, but I went to every single home game of Slovakia's, what year was it, 2018 qualifiers, and they won most of them basically. And the atmosphere when you leave the stadium, you're straight in the town, and it was always just really good fun. And Slovakia beat Scotland 3-0. And I remember going out it's a small place, Trnava, and, you know, the Scottish are great. And they were like, you know, self-deprecating humor. And it was just a really fun night. And there was quite a lot of nights like that in Slovakia. And I suppose it's what your podcast is about, really, that mingling amongst football fans. And it wasn't nasty at all. It was just funny, and, you know, everyone buying each other drinks. So they were probably the happiest when I thought about it.
I love that. Absolutely love that. I think for myself, the happiest I've ever been was my first United game. I'll be completely honest, because as a kid, I remember going up into the stadium of the Theatre of Dreams, and just sort of when I left there, we'd won. It was just that, oh my good God, I've just been to watch my team. And it was just that feeling of elation, which I think we've all felt at certain points in our, obviously, Gibbo, certainly not when he went to Kidsgrove. In fact, Chris Sharp actually said, Kidsgrove, what a place. So,
can I just add, Chris Sharp, who is listening, he actually lives down the road from me here. He's in the Marbella area too. That's why he's listening.
And I don't think it's any coincidence that you've both been to Kidsgrove and moved countries.
Well, I won't be being welcomed at Kidsgrove anytime soon, will I?
I actually quite like visiting Kidsgrove Athletic, the football club.
Let's try and balance out. I think the ground we both quite liked, if I remember rightly. There was nothing wrong with the ground or the football club. It was the pre-match we didn't enjoy.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I just got a picture of Gibbo in the town square of Kidsgrove with a banner. Kidsgrove is shite. Change my mind.
Outside Lidl.
Russell Cox, thanks for commenting, mate. He says, afternoon guys, listen to the first bit walking back from town, now at home with a pint of Big Bear cider, 6.9%. Happiest moment for me is when Wycombe reached the FA Cup semi-final by beating Leicester. Christ, that was a time ago, wasn't it? Thanks for joining there, Russell. Next question then. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm gonna have to go to Gibbo with this. The worst you've ever felt after a game. Oh no, it's Kidsgrove next. I'm joking.
No, it's not. I don't like to use the term war crime too often. But when I went to Ossie Albion, they fed me an oxo instead of a bovril. And it just ruined my day, to be honest. I asked for a bovril. She clearly put an oxo cube in. I handed it back to her and she snatched it. Now this is karma. So it actually burns her in the end because she snatched it back from me and the lid wasn't on properly. So in hindsight, I probably didn't feel as bad as she did, but it still ruined the day out. So that's the worst I've ever felt after a game, after being cheated out of a bovril in Ossie.
Gibbo, if I pay the money, can I send you a GoPro? I want you to wear a GoPro everywhere you go from this day forward, mate. Absolutely. Max, I'll come to you, bud. What's the worst you've ever felt after a game?
I mean, following Crew to away games, there's quite a lot of negatives you get. We're quite renowned for giving up leads in the last few minutes. There's a lot of 2-1s that become 3-2s. weird one is Macclesfield a couple of years ago. It's sort of elation to depression is probably the best way of putting it. So, yeah, Macclesfield away, RIP before we start. So yeah, I think obviously that's quite a local game for Crewe. So again, a good crowd there, good atmosphere. I think in 92nd, 93rd minute, George Ray, our defender, comes up, scores a header. I think Emma mentioned this in the podcast. This is when I elbowed her in the stomach, and I was going crazy while she's winded, almost crying on the floor. So yeah, that didn't go down too well. But yeah, great moment, elation, thinking, right, we've won this, local derby, brilliant. They go straight up the other end and scored themselves. Like Kiefer Mays, an absolute howler, and then it's 3-3. And then, like I say, you're leaving the game thinking you've gone from one of the greatest moments of watching your team to if it feels like a loss. You feel so deflated. You're ready. Like we said before, you're ready to go out afterwards. You're ready to, right, we just won. Let's go and have some more beers. Let's go on a night out now. And then it's suddenly all taken away from you. Right, I want to go home.
I want to go to Kidsgrove.
Max, is George Ray? Is George Ray Roy Cropper?
He used to be.
Well, I think he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain. I don't know. Go on.
So George Ray had a Twitter account called like Roy Cropper Not or something like that many years ago. I hope what I'm saying is true because this could come back to bite me. Anyway, it was quite it was like a parody account basically, and it used to have some outrageous stuff on there. And I believe he passed the account on when he started playing a bit more professional football because those two things can't really go hand in hand. But yeah, that was my take on what I thought at the time. But it's quite a long time ago now. I'd forgotten about it actually.
What have I done in this episode? I thought football. We've got Kidsgrove hate. We've got Roy Cropper. I don't understand where we're going.
What Roy Cropper was doing in these tweets.
I think before I go on to Nate and Matt, my worst I've ever felt after a game. It wasn't actually going to a live game. It was when I just moved over to where I am now with the wife. I went to the local pub just to sort of try and get some friends, to be honest, because I didn't know anybody. And United were playing Hull. And I remember going into the bar and they had Strongbow Dark Fruits advertised. And I thought, I like a Strongbow Dark Fruit. So I said, can I have a pint of that? And they said, you can, but we need to get rid of the Strongbow first. I said, well, how many pints of Strongbow you got? He goes, not many. So I said, right, okay, I'll get through them. And by the end of the game, I'll have had a couple of them. So anyway, 17 pints later, still no dark fruits. The wife has to come and pick me up from the pub. I get home, clamber up the stairs, get to the top of the stairs, fall back down the stairs, put my arm through the wall and piss all over myself. So that was the worst I've ever felt after a game because it was the horror the next day of, do you realise what you've done? Oh, God. So that's my one. Let's go to Nate. Nate, what's the worst you've ever felt?
I knew Max would say some Crewe stuff, and I think Max has been quite unfortunate. He's probably been to a few more Crewe games than I have over the last 8 years or so. We've been absolutely diabolical, so I'm quite glad I've not been. I did have Stockport. I think we got relegated at Stockport. We lost 4-3 on a Friday night game, and I remember that being quite a tough one to take. But I didn't want to talk too much about Crewe. Mine was a drinking one also. I don't drink all that much, and I certainly aren't one for a beer at the football usually because I'm normally driving myself. But when I was a student in Southampton, I watched Saints v Liverpool in 2013-14, and I remember I'm sure it was a Saturday game, and I remember waking up about 40 minutes before kickoff, and I was quite lucky to get a ticket. I got the ticket that week, and I was hungover as anything, and I ran to the ground, which was a good mile and a bit probably from where I lived. And I got in, and because I got a ticket so last minute, I was in like the noisy end, the singers end, so nobody sits down. I couldn't sit down and enjoy the game. I was like propped against my seat trying to like not fall over. And I remember I just couldn't enjoy a single moment of the game. And I think Suarez scored, Gerrard scored a last minute penalty as I was like crawling out the ground because I just felt horrendous. So in terms of how physically feeling bad, it was probably that game. But I also wanted to say that as great as groundhopping is, you don't really have that same emotional connection to the teams to kind of have that level of elation or kind of depression, I guess. But I mean, I've turned up to a few games and the game hasn't been on. which is which is about as deflating as it gets when you're ground hopping. But yeah, that Saints game, it was a couple of times actually. I've been to St Mary's, absolutely hanging, and yeah, it's not been too pleasant watching the match like that. So
Nate, you're doing it all wrong, mate. It's hair of the dog. It's hair of the dog.
Yeah, I know.
Trust me. Matt, what about you, bud?
Yeah, you've sort of changed my answer a little bit here because people are talking about hangovers and stuff. And as Gibbo will know, I've always been quite lucky. I don't really get them, but I was sort of listening to the others speak then, and I was remembering our trip to Berlin when we went to watch Hertha Berlin play, and I think we flew on the Friday night, Friday morning, wasn't it? Friday morning. We went out all Friday day, was out till the early hours. Then we went to watch Hertha Berlin Saturday, but I went out ahead of Gibbo and our mate Elliot because I was basically drunk for 3 days. I was probably the drunkest.
Matt, you're always out, mate. You're always out.
I was the drunkest I've ever been in my entire life, and it was.
He fell asleep on somebody's shoulder on the Berlin metro system after the game,
after singing Gary Monk songs. But yeah, it was the holiday. I don't know if Gibbo mentioned this on your podcast. I can't remember when. He missed his flight home from Barcelona. So it was the first trip after that. So Gibbo was very determined that he was making the flight home. And I don't think I helped matters because I think I got up okay, but I don't really remember getting on the plane and don't really remember getting home, but we did. But I don't think I felt awful. I felt just a bit spacey, which was also the Eric Kerr night, which I don't know if we can tell that story. That's a long story. Maybe
go for it.
Okay. So basically, this is bizarre. After the Berlin play, we went and got a kebab, and I got back to the hotel, and I basically sort of sobered up during the game and enjoyed the game. But then when we got back to the hotel, we were going to go out in East Berlin because East Berlin is cool. That needs to be on a
t-shirt. East Berlin is cool.
I'm full of slogans, but I never made it to East Berlin because I passed out in our hotel room. So Gibbo and Gibbo's mate Elliot, our mate Elliot, I suppose, they went out in East Berlin and just left me sleeping in the hotel. So I woke up about midnight and thought, oh no, I've missed the night out in East Berlin. But then I sort of thought, well, wait a sec, this is Berlin. I'll just go out the door and see what happens. So I walked to the nearest 24-hour bar, and it was really quiet, dark and dingy, and there was an American guy in there and a couple of German lads, and got chatting with the American guy and had a few drinks. And I said, what do you do? And he said, well, I work for the Chicago Bulls, actually. I work for Nike and the Chicago Bulls. I do marketing or something like that for them. And I said, cool. And he said, have you ever heard of Steve Kerr? Now, I don't know if any of you are basketball fans, because me and Gibbo aren't, but I've learned since, because one of my good friends here in Marbella is a big basketball fan. Like Steve Kerr is like the Sergio Busquets of the Chicago Bulls team with Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman and stuff. It was his son. So all these Germans were like, you are Steve Kerr's son. And I was like, yeah, I'm with Steve Kerr's son. Like, yeah. But anyway, so I had this great night with Steve Kerr's son. Wake up the next morning and Gibbo and Elliot are back. And I was like, I had a great night in the end with this American lad. And they said, yeah, we were with an American lad. He got thrown out of the nightclub in East Berlin. It was the same guy. So he spent the first half of the night with Gibbo and then bizarrely crossed the, and Berlin's a big city, ended up on the other side of the city with me.
Have we got time for one more night out, me and Matt's story as well? Because I think, thinking of the worst I've ever felt, this could be it.
Go on.
Yes. This is yeah.
So it was another Easter. We went to watch Carlisle versus, was it Portsmouth?
It was, yeah.
And we were drinking all day. Botchergate in Carlisle is brilliant. But we were staying over as well. So we're staying in the Travelodge in Carlisle. So Botchergate, they shut it off and you can just bounce from pub to pub to pub. And we were going to go and watch like a Scottish 8th Division game in Dumfries the following day.
Yeah, it's in Queen of the South ground, wasn't it? Like a really iconic groundhopping ground.
So we were out to like the pub shop. We got the dodgiest kebab we've ever had, but it was like DIY, so we had to build it in the hotel room on the floor. And like we got very, very drunk to the point Matt rang his mate Ed, and I thought I was on the phone to Ed Miliband and started to talk about Labour policies. And anyway, the next morning, I
think we might have got spiked, don't we? It was that bad.
Yeah, and the next morning on this ScotRail service up to Dumfries, I did not feel well at all. And I'm saying to Matt, I don't feel well. I'm going to the toilet. And as I get up out of my seat, this toddler and his mum get out of their seat further up the train and beat me to the toilet. I thought, oh no. And suddenly the kebab from the night before spewed out. But I did it underneath the table. But being the polite person I am, I went and told the train guard what I'd done. You know, just nice and under the radar. I didn't want to cause a scene. So I go back to the table with Matt, and the ScotRail guard comes down and says, right, this carriage is closing. Somebody's thrown up. So we run off, and then I think he was going through to Glasgow, this train. So it was like another 2 hours or something, and this whole carriage had to be closed off because I drank too much in Carlisle the night before.
You say we run off. We didn't, because I was just sitting there. I was not very helpful. I was just laughing. I just couldn't stop laughing.
We've got a couple of comments to read out. We've got Craig Newton. Craig, hope you're well, mate. I haven't spoke to you for ages. Hi guys, my worst moment: Villa losing to Fulham in the playoff final. Bruce never let that team play to their potential. As soon as Fulham scored, I knew it was over. Yeah, do you know what? Do you know what? Actually, Fulham is a popular bloody club on my podcast. Everyone seems to mention Fulham. It's incredible. Hope you're well, Craig. Russell Cox. Not great memories of Stockport. Wickham been there 13 times with 2 draws and 11 defeats, including the time I went there and we got thumped 6-0 on a bog of a pitch because of the Sales Shark rugby. Brilliant. Blame it on Sale. Lewis Millington, hope you're well, Lewis. Lewis says, all right, chaps, getting me through the washing up. So that's what we're here for. And we've got Chris Sharp says, I once worked for a team who lost 6-0 in a cup final, played at Chesterfield FC in front of a bumper crowd, then got teased by my dad and my then girlfriend for over a week about how bad we played. There's nothing worse than being teased by family members. I remember, go on.
I said the word then girlfriend. I think that says a lot about Chris's attitude afterwards.
Go on.
I remember actually when I was sort of trying to convince my dad to come watch me play in my latter years of my illustrious Sunday League career. And he finally agreed to and spent 90 minutes shouting things like, get up, fatty, and Dan the diver. And yeah, so what's that? Anyway, enough about me. Guys, I'm going to come to Matt first. A player that you still keep your eye out for now.
I think I mentioned the 2 big ones when I was on your podcast, actually. I told you about the first time I saw Jack Grealish when he was playing for Notts County and being like never heard of him and just being like, who the hell is he? And I suppose I don't really keep an eye on him anymore because he's just, he's in the spotlight. But and I think I also mentioned Duncan Watmore, who I think anyone that was watching non-league football in Manchester or that area would have perhaps heard of him at Altrincham, and he was just head and shoulders above anyone at that level, so it wasn't too much of a surprise. He went to Sunderland originally, and now he's at Middlesbrough. His dad is Ian Watmore of the FA. If anyone's ever heard of Ian Watmore. Yeah. And then the 2 others that came to mind really were, as a Swansea fan, and I think I speak for all Swansea fans here, we are still a little bit in love with Joe Allen, who now plays for Stoke. But
the Welsh Perlo, wasn't he? Was that
Yeah, the Welsh Chavy. Welsh
Chavy, sorry, the Welsh Chavy.
Brendan Rodgers called it. So we wished him well when he went to Liverpool because we understood Liverpool is a step up. But there was always this talk of him coming back to Swansea. So anytime something goes wrong at Stoke, we're like, please come back, Joey, because he came out and sort of said that he wanted to come back to Swansea, but we weren't offering the money. And in my dad's house in France, actually, I do have a signed Joe Allen shirt as well. So Joey, and then the other one, and again, just pure coincidence, a bit of a Gibbo link here. Obviously living in Slovakia and watching their national team a lot, there was a couple of players I grew to quite like. So my favourite was Sobotka, going back to Joe Allen, I called the Slovak Joe Allen, who went to Celta Vigo and is now at Napoli, and he was just brilliant. And Milan Skriniar, which I know Gibbo know the link here. He's now at Inter Milan, but he's been heavily linked with Barcelona. But me and Gibbo had a selfie with him on the pitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, while in the stand, he came over, and it was him and Martin Dubravka came over to the fans after the game, and there was like little kids and me and Gibbo. And Martin Dubravka, Gibbo had his Everton Cole shirt on, which is obviously black and white stripes, and Gibbo said to him, "It's a Newcastle shirt, Martin." But Milan Skriniar was probably the one, because I think he was playing for Slovakia just before he moved to Inter Milan, and I think he was at Sampdoria, and he was just phenomenal and looked like that sort of. He was. I said at the time, and these are big words. He was this sort of weird mix between Rio and Vidic. He's quite tough, but quite silky too. So he's the one I've always thought would go on to superstardom. And obviously he's at Inter, which is a very big club, but I still think there's another level to him. I can't say I've watched him much this season, but
They're two good choices. I like that. Max, what about you, bud?
Yeah, so I've got a couple for this one. The first one I'll get out of the way because I don't want to keep talking about Crew, but I seem to keep mentioning it for every single way.
Before you do, every time you mention Crew, watch Nate's face. Nate goes,
I haven't spoken about Crew in such a long time with anyone, apart from my dad. So it's just nice to hear another voice on a local accent. So,
with Crew, obviously it's been a bit sort of dodgy, a bit of a dodgy subject at the moment, but we're obviously famous for our academy. So many players that come through. Whenever we sell a player, a lot of teams, as soon as you sell a player, you hate them. They're booed for the rest of their career. Why have you left us? But with Crew, it seems to be we know we've got to sell them to be able to keep running as a club. So we just follow them for the rest of their career. So at the minute you've got Ashley Westwood, who's playing for Burnley every week. You've got Nick Powell, who went to United. He's now at Stoke.
Scored on his debut for United against Wigan, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with him was Fergie left the season he sort of signed. I feel like if Fergie was there, he'd have given him his chance, and he probably
people like him and Zaha. Zaha's level, I think if he'd have stayed with Fergie, I think probably would have gone on to do more. Carry on, bud.
So this season, Perry NG, our right back, and who was our captain, he's just gone to Cardiff. So now, sorry, Matt. But now we're watching out for Cardiff results to see how he's doing. And then our left back, who is now become our captain, has just gone to Blackburn. So watching out for them next season, I'm sure, see how he does. And it's the thing with all Crew fans. I think you then follow their career, and you can say, look at this player who came from Little Crew. He's now ripping up the Premier League. He's playing for England. He's doing whatever. That's out of the way. Non-league wise, I think one of the first games I ever went to was we're on a weekend away in Matlock, and Nantwich, who again Crew's local non-league were playing, so I managed to wrote my dad into let's go and watch Matlock, see what that's all about. What's this non-league football? We went, and then had a striker called Ross Hanna. He scored 40 goals that season. Everyone was talking about him, so we watched him. He scored a hat-trick in that game. Nate, you're like Rodney Pratt was playing for Nantwich in that game. A Crew legend. I think he's still our record signing.
He did work in Iceland at Crew when I was at college.
Yeah. And probably my most memorable goal he scored against Bolton. So, Joe, you'll like that one. So anyway, Ross Hanna, we watched him, scored a hat-trick in this game. Thought, wow, he is as good as what everyone was saying. And then, the next season he went to Bradford. They bought him, so he went to 4 leagues with Bradford. Played for Grimsby for a bit. I think he's back at Matlock now. Didn't quite manage to make it at Football League level, but he was one we've always watched out for ever since. He's probably the best player I've seen at non-league.
There's a few there, isn't there? I think you do, don't you? Excuse me. You do keep your eye out for some of these players. I remember watching Dave Edwards for Shrewsbury Town. Absolutely loved watching him, and then he was left out the playoff final and went on to Luton, then to Wolves, and played in a Euro semi-final for Wales, and he was always a player I kept my eye out for. The other one for me as well was Tom Bradshaw, another lad who come from Aberystwyth Town to Shrewsbury Town, scored on his debut against Crewe, I think. Was it against Crewe? I mean, it was a double against Crewe. Come on, scored a couple, left a couple of years later and just went on, and I think he's at Millwall now. I think
he's a Welsh international as well. Just quickly, Dan, one of the other ones I should have said, and because I think it will appeal to you, is when I did live in Manchester, going to watch Man United under 21s a bit, I did fall a little bit in love with Adnan Januzaj. So he's over here in Spain now, so it's I'd still like to keep an eye on him too.
I certainly don't want to make this about United, but there's another one. If he'd have been there with Fergie, I just wonder how he'd have got on. Fergie had a knack with these younger players, or with Solskjaer. Solskjaer seems to blood him, but I'll come on to Nate next.
A couple of my names are Crewe links again. I hadn't really thought about the academy lads. It is just a given that we do follow the guys when they go up the leagues, and I like following the ones that go down the leagues as well. The academy boys that don't quite make it always end up at Nantwich and Kidsgrove and Congleton and all the kind of local non-league sides. So it's good seeing them pop up there. There's a few from Crewe like Michael O'Connor, Alan Martin, Matt Mitchell-King, Steve Phillips. I kind of kept in touch with them a little bit after they've left, and they've seen me pop up at the most random places around the country. And I've gone, hey, you remember me from Crewe? And they've gone, oh yeah. Or I've managed to speak to them before and they've got me the tickets. So they're a few of the names that I've kept in touch with and keep up with now. And then the other one I wanted to talk about was Andrew Aber, who was the striker I put into the Groundhopping 11 on the pod.
Yeah.
He's a Solomon Islands international. I worked with him in 2019 during the tour when they toured Holland, the Solomon Islands national team. And he's just played his first game today back in New Zealand, first game for a couple of years after a knee injury. So, yeah, he's one I always keep up with. He plays for anyone and everyone in New Zealand by the looks of things. So, that's another one. It's not football I know anything about, but it's good to see him pop up on Facebook and that saying he's got a game. So,
I mean, before we come to you, Gibbo, it's so right, isn't it? These players that we see, and you do, and you know what, Matt, you're completely right in what you said. You do fall in love with them a little bit, and you follow them, and you keep your eye out for them. And whenever they do well, you feel like, oh, get in. You know, it's great to see. Dave Edwards, you know, obviously England were diabolical in 2016, but to see Dave Edwards go to the semi, I was like, that's one of us. I remember. Poor eyed Dave. He got collared with me in a nightclub called Liquid before he left Shrewsbury Town, and I was sweaty and you know, beer all over me and arm around him. You're going to be amazing. And I remember him probably looking, thinking, "We fuck off, mate." But you fall in love with these players and you follow them no matter what. Gibbo, anyone from Kidsgrove, or is it just?
I've not really. Despite all the games I've been to, I've never gone to a game where a player's then gone on to do anything. So I just look out for like the local players, like the lads from Bolton and then a couple from Atherton. So there's like Tom Aldred, who is from the Bolton area, and he got me he got me a ticket when I went to watch Motherwell. I got the Coles manager at the time to ask if I could have a ticket. So I ended up sitting with his dad and his girlfriend in like the players bit, and like Nicky Hunt did the same for me and Matt when we went to Mansfield. And you have to like whisper under your breath because you don't know whose parents you're next to, so you can't like moan about any of the players. So Tom Aldred, he's at Brisbane Roar at the minute. Actually, he left Motherwell and went to play in Australia. Nicky Hunt's at Darlington at the moment. I was hoping he might go somewhere exotic once more, so I could try and tick off another one for free. He got me into Notts County a couple of years ago. But then it was quite sad this week because I don't know if you've seen the Barrow captain, Lewis Hardcastle. So he's from Atherton, and you know, he in my local pub and things like that when he's not playing. And his brother played for Coles for ages, and he played for Salford against Notts County, and he was like 16, and he looked brilliant. Finally got into the Football League, and he's had to retire this week with a genetic heart condition.
It's awful.
So
awful.
He was always the player that I kept looking out for because he's just one of the normal lads from Atherton, and
he's one of us.
we were hoping he'd do well. And when I saw that this week, I just felt so gutted for him and his family. And you just hope that he knows what to do next, and it doesn't affect him any other way. But then on the flip side, it's good that he knows that there's something wrong with his heart, and nothing worse will happen in the future.
Gibbo, just quickly, that Salford Notts County game, I went to that. If I remember rightly, didn't he have man of the match as well? Phenomenal. I remember, because obviously we know his brother Ben, or you know him better. But because I went, obviously Salford used to be I used to live 10 minutes away from Salford City, but I remember 16-year-old, and he's just, a good, tough Notts County team. And I think they almost got relegated that year, Notts County, but he was brilliant. I remember being... Yeah.
And I think over the summer, Bolton were interested when Ian Evatt came across from Barrow, but Barrow was so keen to keep hold of him, he couldn't join Bolton. And then now that's the end of his career at 22. It's just a shame.
It's no age.
Yeah.
It's funny you say about you need to keep an eye on whose parents you're with. I don't know if any of you watched the Under the Kosh podcast with the boys. I can't remember. You got, what's his name from up top? John Parkins, one of it. No, so is it John Parkins?
Yeah. It's John Parkins, Chris Brown, I think.
And you've got, have you seen the Dean Windass episode?
No.
Oh, my God. So Dean Windass says that he goes to play Leicester for, I think it was Middlesbrough at the time, it might have been Bradford, I think. Anyway, Paul Jewell said to him, look, Robbie Savage is going to try and have you. He's going to wind you up. Just ignore him. Don't worry about it. Anyway, straight away, a couple of minutes into the game, Robbie Savage is calling him fatty, getting him riled up. And I think he got sent off because of Savage. So he said he went back into the tunnel. He's fuming, seething. He said, turns around to one of the Leicester players who he knows and says, I think it was Gary Taggart or someone like that. He says, do you have a players bar so I can go and have him? And he says, yeah. I'll take you there. We all want to see this. So we got this. So he goes up there. He's riled himself up. In he walks, ready to do Robbie Savage. He looks at the bar and Robbie Savage is there. And Robbie Savage goes, oh, you're right. And he's like, right. And I go over and I'm going to dig him. There's kids around. So he says he's just going to walk around, slyly give him a dig, and that's it, walk away. As he gets over there, Robbie Savage goes, oh, have you met my parents? So straight away, Windass is like, oh, I can't do anything. So he's like, oh, hello, Mr. Savage. Hello, Mr. Savage, Mrs. Savage. And they, they give him a bit of a blank look, and off he goes. He goes, yeah, I just thought I'd come over and say good game. But anyway, off he goes. He gets to the bus. This lad who's playing for Leicester goes, just before you get that bus, I thought I'd let you know they're not his parents. He completely had you there. So Robbie Savage is obviously known he's going to come and do me, and looked and thought, I need to get out of this somehow. And he's poor couple off as his parents.
He's probably used to it, Robbie Savage. Obviously, I never enjoyed playing against him, but fortunately he played for my national team, and
oh god, he's
I think shithouse is the word, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt, he's one of those players you'd have on. Did he play for Crewe? I think he did, didn't he?
He started.
He went to United when he went to Crewe. Yeah. What a player! Okay, then next one. I'm looking forward to this one. This is going to be a good one. I'm going to go to Gibbo first. A game in history you wish you'd been at. Now you can't, I'm afraid, use Forest Green against Bolton. Not allowed. No. All right, I'm sorry.
So I was just laughing at a paint spillage in the garden, and
I was going to say, for about 10 minutes now, I've been watching Gibbo keep looking out the window. He's such a good gardener now that he's making sure his missus is doing a good job, I think.
Right, she spilled some paint on the floor. And she's got a paper towel, and she just rubbed it in even more.
I'll tell you what, does she want to come on the podcast and you go outside and do the garden?
I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Before you carry on, I've got a couple of comments I'll quickly read out because I'll get told off. I've got WD23ST. I think that's a weird name, but I like that. Excellent shirt there, Max. Very good. Nice. Is that a Reading shirt, Max?
No, it's a
I'm joking.
Our local team.
Good shirt. We've got Craig Newton again. Colby Bishop saw him banging in goals for Leamington. Got a move to Accrington Stanley. He's in his second season and doing quite well. He is decent player, to be fair. Lewis Millington. Hope the washing up's going well. He says we had Andy Winhometer. I'm going to say that. Now at Reading at AFC Portchester. Great example for our youth players stepping up from the Wessex Prem to the Championship, praying for the day he moves on for the sell-on fee. Oh, there you go. All about the money. That's what I like to hear.
Portchester have enough money, Lewis, if he's listening.
They
And
do,
they
yeah.
still finished 9th.
Ooh. Chris Sharp says, I always keep track of the former loan players that came into my hometown and supported club, Tamworth FC, the likes of George Baldock and Callum Wilson. I didn't know Callum Wilson played for him for a short time. I suppose he did start his career around the Midlands, didn't he? So
Hinkley, yeah.
that's a decent one. Jake Topless, we got Liverpool 4, Barcelona 19. That's got to be the happiest you've felt because, definitely. Oh, God. Do you know what? I'm not being horrible. I bloody hate Liverpool. And I had to go into work the next day after that, after bantering the lads at work all week, saying, oh, you've been absolutely smashed. And then 4-0. All I had all week was Origi!
Or
Anyway.
he could be a Barcelona fan who misread the question, and that's when he was happy when he got home because he.
I'm off. Lewis Millington washing up is sparkling and also shots fired. Fight. Sparking. Oh, he said sparking. Oh, that's not a threat, and then he's actually corrected it to sparkling. So Gibbo, let's get back to the question. A game in history you wish you'd been at.
Straight down the middle with this one. Bayern Munich 2, Bolton Wanderers 2. Just to have been there at the Allianz Arena that night and see Kevin Davis and Ricardo Gardner slot past Oliver Kahn. Oh, it would have been beautiful. But I was just a couple of years too young, so
absolutely
I had to watch on TV.
It was me and you that spoke about Kevin Davis, wasn't it? That you managed to speak to him. I absolutely loved him as a striker.
Yes, that is the game I wish I'd have been at. Failing that, there's the White Horse Cup final, which was between Bolton and I think it was West Ham. I should have prepared better notes. I think was it 1923 or something. No, it probably a bit later than that. But there was a horse on the pitch, and there were over 100,000 there to watch Bolton at Wembley. And yeah, I think they must have been there just to watch the horse because it seemed to be the most talked about bit.
Gibbo, and please don't take this the wrong way, but if you got transferred back to 1923, I don't think they know what the fucking hell it hit them. I really don't think they know what it hit them, mate. Honestly,
spewing over wagons on the back of horse and cart.
I'll come to you, Nate. What's your one?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious answer would be probably the 66 Cup final. It seems like a really like get out of jail free card, doesn't it? Sorry, Matt.
I've never what cup final? I've not heard about it before.
Well, yeah. I mean, my granddad was there. He was the Mexico team bus driver for the 66 World Cup. He said like he didn't get paid a lot as bus drivers probably didn't in the 60s, but he did say he got a Mexico. The team gave him a jacket at the end of the tournament or something, which I don't think he has anymore. Certainly wouldn't fit him if he did. So, he always said like I think he had to leave early to get the bus out the car park or something after the game. So I think he missed all like the business end of the match. But yeah, just to be in at that game would have been awesome. And then kind of more recently, I attempted in the 16-17 FA Cup year to watch a game in every round from the extra preliminary to the final. And I was doing pretty well. I wasn't following the winners or anything, but I was doing pretty well. I'd been all over the place. And it got to the quarterfinals and there's only a handful of games. And Chelsea Man United pops up. And at the time, I was working one of the jobs I had. And my colleague knew Michael Essien. Essien had stopped playing by this point. He taught Michael Essien's nephew tennis or something. Anyway,
your family have really cool jobs.
Yeah, well, yeah. So this colleague
knew an electrical hardware store.
So yeah, this colleague knew Michael Essien. He said, "Oh yeah, we'll go to the cup quarter final, Chelsea Man United." He said, "Well, he'll sort us out with the tickets." He said it'd be great. He's a Bolton fan, funnily enough, and I think
Essien.
No, my colleague. And I remember side story. I was at Charlton Bolton in League One randomly one Saturday afternoon, and he rang me and said, "Oh, I'm in the Bolton end." And I said, "Oh, we'll get the train back to Southampton together." And he went, "No, I'm going Michael Essien's for a barbecue after the game." I was like, "All right, thanks for the invite." Anyway, I kind of digress a little bit. So anyway, I didn't make it to the quarterfinal. They switched it to a Monday night for TV, and he couldn't go. So obviously the plan fell through. And then I didn't get a semi-final ticket for either game. And then I luckily got a free ticket for the final that year, so I almost did every round. But yeah, I kind of wish, generically, I wish I'd done a quarterfinal and semi-final game that year.
Good challenge, that. I'd like to do that. I would like to do that. Max, come to you, bud.
So yeah, mine's a pretty obvious one. Nate sort of alluded to it earlier. It's the Crew getting to back Wembley in 2 years and not being able to go to either of them. So yeah, that was pretty like that. Also, we won both times, so you can't really get much better than that. And the first year, I was doing my GCSEs, and my dad said, "No, you can't go. You need to be doing revising. You've got exams next week." It was a joke. I've never forgiven him since.
I was in the middle of my A levels, mate. My dad was unemployed at the time, and he was third in line at the ground for the 2012 final to get tickets. And I remember it well. Yeah, I was right in the middle of my A levels actually that year, and I wouldn't have let anyone stop me going nuts.
Yeah, that thing, just a couple of years too young to go by myself, probably at that point, annoyingly. And then the next year, we were in Tenerife on holiday, so yeah, I had to watch it in. If anyone's been there, there's a Man City-owned bar called Blue Moon, which was quite apt for Crew. So I watched it in there. It was it would have been a Saturday afternoon. There was I think there was 2 Premier League games on at the same time. One tiny little TV in the corner that the owner of the bar put the Crew game on for me. So that was a good one. But again, it's good, but it would have been so much better to actually be there, because who knows when they'll ever get back to Wembley again.
Well, like I said, you're not bitter about it, Max. That's the main thing. Your dad, you're going to block your dad after this now. I can't speak to you.
Never spoke to him.
That's a Jeremy Kyle episode right there, isn't it? You didn't let me go to the FA Cup, to the Cup finals at Wembley. Matt, what about you, bud?
Yeah, I think of all the questions you pitched to us, this was the one which generated the most answers for me. So this was sort of easy, but sort of difficult. So I've sort of got one game for Wales, Swansea, Malaga, I suppose. But the first thought came to my head was, I think I spoke on your podcast the first time about, I do really like the Barcelona team of Pep Guardiola. So I would have loved to have seen that. I particularly like the 2008 circa 2008. So I would have quite liked to have seen that any game, which of course resulted in them beating Man United in Rome. So we won't dwell on that. Yeah, I've got over there, over my doorway, I've got a Malaga v Porto scarf that was just given to me by a mate. So I would have, living in this part of the world now, they all talk about the Malaga Champions League run. So any of those games really, because they won them all apart from losing to Dortmund in the quarterfinal. I would love to have gone to La Rosaleda and experienced those big European nights there. I sort of hinted at it earlier that when Swansea got to Europe, obviously being a teacher, Europa League games Thursday night, I was never going to make it to any games. So I made sure I went to Malmo to watch Swansea in the qualifying rounds to tick that box and say, look, I've seen Swansea away in Europe. But we beat Valencia 3-0 in Valencia. So I remember getting home from school and watching it and sort of being like, every time a goal went in, going, yes, and going, oh, no, I so wish I was there. And all my friends had photos on Facebook and stuff, so that. But I think the number one, and I watched it with Gibbo actually on TV in a bar in Manchester with a couple of my Welsh mates, was when Wales beat Belgium 3-1. Just having grown up following Wales, and it just always felt hopeless. We had one decent campaign under Mark Hughes, where the time we beat Italy, I mentioned earlier, where there was a glimmer of hope, and we thought that was it. And then it was pretty barren for 10 years, and we qualified for that tournament, and that was it. I think everyone said all we wanted to see as Welsh football fans was the Welsh national anthem in a tournament and put up a bit of a fight. And then we got through the groups and won the group, obviously. I know we had the blip against England, but we did win the group.
Honest to God, I was in a pub full of Welsh people, and you went 1-0 up, and I was like, "Yeah, brilliant! I'm getting battered here." When that goal goes in, I was elated.
Well, I was the opposite, because obviously I finished school, and I don't know if you remember, it was a really early kickoff, wasn't it? So where I worked in Manchester.
How old are you?
No, but I'm a teacher. As in,
of course you are. Sorry.
I should specify. I was a teacher leaving school. I keep forgetting. So I was leaving work, and I had the same way. We went 1-0 up, and we were leaving school after 1-0 up. So we walk into the local pub, and obviously all the kids were like giving me loads of abuse. So I didn't know what to do. So I was just doing like this, walking down the street, and I remember thinking, "This is going to come back. This is going to come back and hurt me." But yeah, just that Belgium night was just like we scored the greatest goal in our history, and again, it was one of those nights where I'm glad, like, you know, it's nice to have Gibbo there. As always, good company. But it was nice to have some Welsh people with me as well, and and it was one of those ones where you just sort of wish you were there, really. And I think that will always be the one if I could pick.
Yeah,
definitely.
I like that. I think for me, being a Beckham was my idol. I think for me, it will always be the England-Greece game. I wish just that free kick in the last minute, what it meant to all of us English fans. It was just incredible, especially considering the start to the qualifiers we'd had. Keegan was on his way out. He'd absolutely destroyed the team, I thought. Funny story was that game actually, I was at my friend's house watching it, and my friend's dad went back and puts the free kick in. He had, do you remember those old tables that used to have the glass centre, wood on the outside, and he jumped up and put his foot through it and cut all his arteries. It was just like blood everywhere. Like, I was like, what is happening here?
That's passion.
That was, oh my God, what a period that was when Beckham. And do you know what? I bawled my. I was only 15, but I bawled my eyes out to that. I was like, oh, we've done it, Beckham. Anyway, I digress. But Craig Newton's got a couple here. He said, Malvern Town 5, Worcester Raiders 5. Went to extra time. In goal for Malvern was their chairman covering for injury. Saved the last penalty to win it 5-4 for Malvern on penalties. That is absolutely.
That is a story.
Why is it when they say chairman, I just think of some like 70-year-old bloke with grey hair?
Get yourself ready.
No gloves on.
And another one he says is another I was going to go to, but went to Dudley Sports instead with Bewdley Town 3, Worcester Raiders. Bewdley were 3. Oh, I remember this actually. Bewdley were 3 up on 75 minutes. Then Raiders blew them away in the final 15. I remember that. That was.
When I come back to the UK, I'm going to go watch Worcester Raiders. I think it sounds like that's the place to be.
I think so. I think you're right, mate. I think you're completely right. Okay, so we've gone through my questions for you guys. So we've got some questions that people have been posting throughout the day on Twitter. I'm going to quick fire these. I don't want to give you too much time to think about them. I think we just go for it. The first one is by the 94th minute, and it is, what cake would you like to eat whilst watching a football match? Matt, I'm coming to you first for this one, brother.
Sponge cake.
A sponge cake. Please digress.
I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll say an infamous dating website. Someone last night messaged me saying, "Hi, Matt, would you like to in my face?" So I tweeted about it, and I think that's what this is in response to.
Love that.
It made me laugh last night, so I think, yeah.
Gibbo, what cake would you like to eat whilst watching a football match?
Lemon drizzle, please.
Go on. Why a lemon drizzle?
I'm just really good at making them.
Okay. So hang on. Let's allude to this. You go to a game. You've brought this lemon drizzle. It's in a nice little pack. You bring it out. You serve it up to people, or just for yourself?
Well, the thing, I don't really think Bolton fans are keen on lemon drizzle. I'll tell you what, though. Next time I go to a game, I'll take a variety of cakes. I'll offer them out. I'll see which one gets taken the most, and I'll get back to you.
Excellent stuff. I love it. Absolutely love it. Max, what cake would you like to eat whilst watching a football match?
Right, we'll go fancy and go cheese. Cheesecake.
That's cheating.
That's awesome. It's solid. It's absolutely.
It's not a cake. It isn't a cake. Come on, Max. Think.
That's another one, Gibbo. Gibbo, you stood there with your sign. Cheesecake. Changed my mind. Okay, Nate. What cake, mate? What cake are we looking at?
I quite like angel cake.
Okay.
Just nice and simple. Mr. Kipling. I could probably go through a box of them while watching a non-league game somewhere.
I love the idea now. The person that sent me this very weird message last night, they have no idea that it's now being discussed on a groundhopping podcast.
Honestly, either that or she sat there with a fella going,
Wow, it wasn't a sheep.
For me, it's boring. It's a Victoria sponge. You can pick it up, take it. You don't need to worry about where it goes. Where it goes? That's a bit odd. What the? I'm talking about where it goes. Okay, next one. We'll start with you, Nate. What is the best piece of merchandise that you've bought during your Groundhop?
Oh, best piece. I don't know. I'm a bit of a sucker for a pin badge. It's kind of a boring answer. I've got a few scarves. I don't know if anything classed as a best piece of merchandise. I got a couple of a couple of key rings and stuff. No, nothing really interesting. That's a terribly boring answer. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. Max, we'll come to you, bud.
Yeah, I'd say not much better. I'm not really a merchandise kind of person. I've got a few shirts. The one that I've got recently, I've got a nice a beer bottle opener from a website. Not much.
Love it. Gibbo.
Well, I'm really, really gutted I didn't buy this a couple of weeks ago now. York have produced commemorative Bootham Crescent oven gloves. So I wish I'd have bought them and that would have been a really good answer. But yeah, I don't really buy merchandise. I just buy the football shirt and the occasional scarf.
Love it. Matt?
Yeah, same sort of thing, really. I don't really. I on European ground hops, I usually buy a scarf. So my favourite scarf I bought was a St. Polten scarf, which is sort of about an hour south of, or hour west of Vienna. And it says, Wir sind dir. And I can speak some German. I can't remember what the word for wolves are, but it says, we are the wolves. And it's red and yellow and blue. And it's just a really pretty scarf.
I like that. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. I was going to say, I did get a Bolton shirt when I went to Bolton v Sunderland in the Prem. It was 0-0. The game was atrocious, and I think my dad wanted to brighten my day up a little bit, and it was towards the end of the season. It was the old yellow Reebok, yellow and green away shirt. It was like a £5 or something.
Oh, the one with like the thing there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have that one.
I mean, Dad's, I can send it over to you if you want. I've got the use for it.
Hey, to be fair, mate, mine was going to be close to that. I was at a Shoes Town game. It was in, and after the game, I sort of sat by a load of kids, and they'd been asking one of the players for a shirt. And the lad came over and he threw the shirt, and I caught it, and I was like, "Oh, cheers, mate!" And he went, "No, it's for the kids." And I went, I had to pass it back, and I got booed. I was ridiculous. We've got here Chris Sharp. Oh Christ, you have to help me with that one.
Kevin Druids.
Kevin Druids air freshener. Despite the fact I don't drive. Love that. Also, by the way, mate, Craig Newton, cheesecake is a great shout. Oh my God, shots fired. Okay, next one. And this one will start with Matt. The Gearycast asked, imagine a podcast now. You can only save one football ground in the world. Which one would you choose?
Well, I should say La Rosaleda here, shouldn't I, for the Gearycast? But then I'd upset my Swansea friends. So I'm going to annihilate both of those. They've gone. The Liberty and La Rosaleda have gone. I'm going to stick up for my my hometown, actually. I'm going to save Pendarren Park in Merthyr Tydfil just because it's a part of the world that gets a bad rep, and Merthyr is a very community-driven football club, and there's not much else going on in Merthyr. So I think if you took the football club away, it would, that community would disintegrate even more. So I'm going to save Pendarren Park in Merthyr. Okay, Max, I'll come to you, bud.
So I've got two again for this. First of all,
you only have one.
There's one football ground.
We'll go for the one then. I know Joseph won't like the fact my other one was Matlock. He don't like them, so we'll go for the other one. We'll go for Newark. So at the minute, our local side, we're still not really sure whether they're actually going to be able to play at their ground next season. There's basically a developer wants to buy the ground and put houses on it. So we don't really know what's going on, whether they're going to actually be able to play there next season again. And they're the first club from this town that's actually done anything in football. They've had back-to-back promotions. They're in their step 5 now. definitely throwing some money at it. And yeah, the other Newark team have been for the last 20 odd years. They were ground sharing away from Newark, and they've just managed to get a ground. So I feel like if Newark, this Newark loses their ground, it's not exactly an easy place to find somewhere else to play. So fingers crossed that they do manage to keep it and it does stay there, because they're starting to build a proper team for the town to actually get behind and support.
Agree. Completely agree. Okay. Yeah, no, I like that answer. It's a good one. Nate?
I might have to be boring again and just say Cruise Ground, Grassy Road. I was thinking Max might take the answer from me, but yeah, I can't imagine not going to Crewe without having a stadium. It's the only thing that's worth looking at in Crewe, to be honest. So, so yeah, I'd have to save that, because where else would we play?
Spot on. Gibbo, Kidsgrove?
Well, it's funny you say that. I've got the badge up for you.
They've got a new badge, I think, now, Gibbo.
That looks like the new. I think that is the new.
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin the moment. Yeah, they have got a new badge. That's the new one.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, no, I don't like that.
No, neither do I.
That doesn't tell me a story.
No, this one, look. Goats and trees. Clearly Kidsgrove.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would save Hollywood Road in Kidsgrove, because it is the only thing for the community to do.
That's a good answer.
See, to be fair, mate, mine was going to be the City Stadium, because at the Etihad, because if it is apocalypse now and I want to go somewhere where I've got loads of space, I'll go there, because no bugger else is. So, I'm only joking. Okay, next one. Chris Sharp. Which ground or grounds do people assume that you've already visited but you actually haven't? We'll start with Max.
You would come to me first, wouldn't you? I ain't got a clue for this one. I mean, out of everyone on here, I've definitely been to by far the least amount of grounds, so probably no one's really expecting me to go anywhere. I don't really know.
Don't be so hard on yourself. For me, it would probably be. No, do you know what? I don't actually know. It's a tough question, that, isn't it, when you think about it?
I've got an answer, because I get sent it probably once a week. When I lived in Slovakia, obviously there's that train ground which went viral. Now, Slovakia is quite a small country, but to get from one side to the other is about 6 or 7 hours, and the train ground is in the middle of nowhere. So everybody, I either get sent that clip of the train. I'm guessing you all know what I'm talking about. Yes, the train. Yeah. And I get sent that once a week with, "Did you ever go here, mate?" And I didn't. Or, "I'm guessing you went here, mate." The reason I never went there is because I found out the train, it's a seasonal thing, and it only goes in the summer. So I was always terrified about going there, because traveling that far, and if you didn't see the train, I would think, what was the point of this? So it used to scare me a bit, and I thought I'd probably be in Slovakia maybe a year longer. So I kept delaying it. I never went. So that's an easy answer for me, that one. I never did the train ground.
What about you, Gibbo?
The National Stadium in Pyongyang. No.
Really? I know someone has been.
Well, that's ruined it for me, mate. I was convinced we were going to do a whole bloody episode on that, weren't we?
No, Ellen Road. I've never been to watch Leeds play there. Despite the fact I'm in York now and have grown up in Manchester, it's just too easy to do. If I think, right, I'm going somewhere this weekend, Leeds is just too easy and convenient to get to, so I'm just saving it, really.
Yeah, agree. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I can't really. I think Fulham, maybe.
You're the only one here.
Yeah, I mean, I've been outside. I've been outside the ground on a non-match day, but I've never seen a game there. I'd like to, but maybe that's one place that people think I might have been. There's a few grounds that I've been to for like stadium tours, or I've just visited while I've been in the area, and you can't really count those. And in my head, I think, oh yeah, I've been there, and I'm like, well, no, I actually haven't seen a game. So yeah, so it's more of me talking to myself rather than people talking to me about this hobby.
First sign of madness, mate. Chris Sharp also goes on and says, "What's the least memorable ground you've each visited and why?" I'm going to start this off. Oldham Athletic, the worst football ground I've ever been to. Hated it. We had to walk through a bloody boggy, muddy bloody horrendous hill to get up to it, and the ground was half painted. I sat there and I was freezing cold. In fact, I was hungover as well. And I sat there, I thought, get me back to bloody Shrewsbury.
Well, when I went to Oldham, I went on a Tuesday night and they played Carlisle. And it was when that one stand was missing. So it was three-sided. And it was a Tuesday night in February. As you said, probably the coldest ground I've ever been to in Britain.
It is, isn't it? It is, isn't it? It's freezing.
But the thing that's memorable for me was, everyone's there like in their big coats shaking cold. And they said, we have some live entertainment before kickoff today. And they brought on this he looked a bit like Alan Rickman in Die Hard. And he came on and he was an opera singer and he sung Nessun Dorma on the pitch before. And I thought it's this big grandiose romantic song, which, gets everyone welled up and thinking of Italia 90. And it was just so out of place. So I always think of that when I think of Oldham.
Can you picture his agent? I've got you a brilliant gig. You go into Oldham. What? No. The ground. You're going to get on there and you're going to sing your song. People are going to love it.
And play your song.
Shrewsbury.
I need to say I'm in Telford, so that's not going to hurt me.
It's just boring.
Which one?
The new one.
The new one, yeah. Do you know what, mate? I get what you're saying, but it's out the way, isn't it?
I've got quite a photographic memory. And I think if you said to me, right, draw that ground from what you remember from your visit, I think I'd do quite well. Shrewsbury, I wouldn't have a clue where to start. There's just nothing going on. And I don't know, the area surrounding it. But I think
I've got to take you out in Shrewsbury. It's decent.
But I think the brand new York City Stadium might trump it soon when we're allowed in, because that looks tedious.
Really? Oh, I remember you saying about that. That's out the way, isn't it?
Oh, well, it's only like 4-minute drive from my house here, but it just I think I could rant for an hour and a half on how bad it is, but never mind. I'm
so glad that my co-host on the Sunday Social Coin isn't there. He'd be like, this is an outrage. How could you say Shrewsbury? No, do you know what, mate? I will touch on that before I go to Nate there. It is out the way, the stadium. You're completely out the way of anything. In fact, you're just next to a Sainsbury's and Home Bargains. That's as beautiful as it gets around there. So I get what you're saying. Nate, what about you, mate?
I was actually thinking about Shrewsbury. It's just I mean, I put Chesterfield in the same bracket, I guess, just like a new, smallish size football league ground where it's symmetrical almost. I was just trying to think where I've maybe been away with Crew and seen a bad result, but I watch games in fields at the moment because you can't really travel very far and in between these lockdowns, and I've not really been I'm just going to local council pitches and that, which are very unmemorable. It's just a pitch, really. I was trying to think of a league ground or at least a ground that some people may be able to relate to. But I'd say Chesterfield's probably up there for me.
With Chesterfield with Chesterfield and Shrewsbury, at least at Chesterfield, you're a bit closer to the pitch and the roof comes over you. At Shrewsbury, you just feel like you're out in the open because the roof doesn't come over as far and you're further from the pitch. At least at Chesterfield, there's a little bit more of an atmosphere.
And Chesterfield, if I remember rightly, is not that far out of the centre, if I remember right. It's walkable from the centre. Where I've not been to Shrewsbury, but I've been past it on the train enough. And it doesn't particularly dull.
Right, I'm telling you now, right. When this is all over, you can come to bloody Shrewsbury. We'll go. There is a fantastic route pub-wise into the town centre. Trust me, I will redeem Shrewsbury.
Well, when I was going to go to Shrewsbury, actually, I had like a train ticket booked, and my friend Stu, who's a Walsall fan, I was going to go in the away end with him, and the game got postponed because Shrewsbury and Walsall had too many internationals between them. So I went to Telford instead. And actually, I think one of the internationals was Tom Bradshaw at Walsall at the time. So, yeah.
I'm just trying to see. I think I'm getting. Oh yeah. You're getting pelters on my personal messages there. You're getting absolute pelters. With regard, okay. So Max, what about you, bud? And if you say Shrewsbury, mate, I'm going to absolutely lose my shit. All right. So
I was just about to agree with everyone else about these new modern grounds. Another one similar to that is where Emma's from, Scunthorpe. It's not quite as bad because there's at least a standing area.
The best football
yeah,
champion in the world about Scunthorpe, isn't it?
It's 3 grounds exactly the 4 stands exactly the same. There's no character about it, nothing that brings it different, and it's just in the middle of nowhere. If you got the train there, you're having to get to the ground. Joe will remember the time I met him at Newark. There's a lovely walk to get there. That's a good 45-50 minutes from the town centre to get around. So
what's that all about? And I said, are we nearly there yet? And we were walking through a cemetery with that was the highlight of the walk. He took me through a cemetery.
That was the scenic route. You should try the other way.
Just picture Gibbo going, Max, you sure the ground is...
It's how you pass the Town's ground, don't you? So you're about halfway there. You see some floodlights. You get excited. No, there's another 25 minutes yet.
I love that. In fact, actually, that's the thing about Shrewsbury Town is there's a bloody train track right next to the stadium. So why they wouldn't put something there?
Yeah,
maybe
the train goes right by and there's no stop.
Oh, that walk from Scunthorpe, I've done it quite a few times when Michael O'Connor was there, and we'd walk there before the game, and then he'd give us a lift back afterwards because that'd just be horrendous.
Great pub in Scunthorpe, though. The Honest Lawyer. I remember the Honest Lawyer. We always used to like drinking there before.
Matt, I don't think we've asked you yours, actually. I think you alluded to Oldham, but...
No, mine's easy. I'd probably go Reading for the same sort of reasons the others have said. Reading, like almost on a retail park outside. It's, Reading's the first one to come to mind, actually, but there's probably a lot of stadiums that look like Reading, which I've forgotten about. So, yeah.
Good answers there, apart from Shrewsbury getting absolute pelters, bless them. Stuart Long says, how many grounds have you done and what's on your target list for 21-22 when restrictions are lifted? Stuart, if you listened to the Tales of a Groundhopper episode, you know exactly how many clubs that they've done. But I mean, you can go on, lads. We'll go with you first, Matt.
Like I said, tragically, I've not kept my spreadsheet up to date. So I think I'm on about 400-ish. And the next one on my list, actually, I'm on 19 countries. So I thought 20 is easy for me because, obviously, just round the corner is Portugal. And I've never watched a game in Portugal. So thanks to playing Championship Manager as a kid, I've always had this thing for sporting clubs in Portugal. So I've always said that's going to be number 20. And it was being planned. And then, obviously, COVID kicked in. So that is still the one I'd like to do country 20 in. So
spot on. Max?
So, yeah, I think I'm going to get a bit embarrassed here.
I don't think you will. I think I'm below you. Go on.
So, yeah, only getting this a couple of years ago. So I'm on 26 of the 92 and 48 grounds altogether. So a bit behind everyone else, I feel.
No, you're definitely not. You're definitely not as bad as me, mate. I'll go to mine in a second. Mine's pathetic. Nate?
Yeah, I'm on 312, but I'd say a good 100 of those are real just generic fields that some Groundhoppers wouldn't even count if they've not had to pay to get in, for instance. So, yeah. And target list for next year, I'd like to do Goodison, especially now they've planned to build a new ground. I'd like to do a few more northern ones. It's a bit difficult for me now I'm down in Southampton, but yeah, teams like Sheffield FC I'd like to do. Matlock's another one that's been mentioned a few times. Hanley Town, if I'm ever back at home, Hanley Town's high on the list with Ricardo Fuller playing there and Carl Dickinson, the new manager. But yeah, there's a couple on my list. Not too many locally. I seem to have done most of the ones worth doing around here, but yeah.
Max, I didn't ask you what was on your target list. Sorry, bud.
I think it's maybe another question that's coming up, but I think doing a lot more abroad. I've never watched a game of football outside of, well, basically England. So getting to somewhere abroad, doing a weekend away, and getting as many games as we can
Come to Malaga, Max. We'll look after you very well.
Oh, really?
That's a good starting point, I think.
Can we all go?
Yeah, you're all welcome. You're all welcome.
Gibbo.
I've done 376, but there's 57 teams in the York League. I know, and I've done 6 of them. So I'm just trying to rattle my way through them until pubs are open again. I'm purposely going to the parts of York that only have like one pub because I'm not missing out on much then. So I think I'm doing Cotman Thorpe next weekend. Yeah, so only another 51 York League grounds to do.
I think, do you know what? For me, the target list has got to be. I want to go to. Is it Glentoran? It's meant. Everyone says it's absolutely beautiful. And the Titanic Museum's next to it, so I can take the wife and just off you go and see where Jack and Rose had their board. And
I think the Titanic Museum always goes down well.
Oh, there we go then. Hey! There we go. He's started. He's absolutely started. A couple of comments. Craig Newton, Sheffield FC is on my list. I want their 125-year commemorative. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, what a history they've got.
Have you seen with Sheffield FC they're building a new? Well, they're saying they want to build a new stadium. I think they want it to be. Is it holding 7,000?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. They get about 300 at the minute, don't they? And they're moving 10 minutes up the road.
The best bit when they were interviewed by like the local newspaper, they said that the sport of football has a fan base of 3 billion supporters. And I thought, oh, right, so that's your target market then, is it? 3 billion football fans. I just thought, what a ludicrous thing to say.
Who's your target? Everyone. I want them all.
Great pub attached to that ground as well. The Coach and Horses.
How much longer are we on for? Because I've just got low battery. Do I need to go and get my charger?
I think we've got a couple more questions, and then I can let you go, Gibbo. Don't worry, bud. Before I can quickly go on, the bloke I had on the Sunday Social on Sunday, the UEFA delegate, he said he's been to over 7,500 games.
Yeah.
7,500 games. Scott
did he tell you about the work I did for him?
Honestly, mate, it was hilarious. So do you want to tell him? Do you want to tell him to the people listening?
Yeah, basically, Scott Struthers. I think Gibbo's met. Actually, I've never met him.
Yeah,
he's just,
a few times.
Yeah, he's always followed when I used to do the blog Lost Bios, and he messaged me. Spain under-21s were playing in Marbella, and obviously the way he usually travels to grounds and does like inspections, doesn't he, about like access points and health and safety, all that sort of stuff. But obviously he can't do that now, and he needed to do a presentation to, I don't know, the UEFA delegates or something. So I had to go up to Marbella's ground and take photos of all the streets and all the. And he paid me with a UEFA hat and a UEFA keyring, which was here somewhere. Which I always made it. I put it down. Somewhere.
Love that. Yeah. Guys, if you've not watched the episode from Sunday, have a watch. He's absolutely fantastic. Scott is going to be doing a few bits and pieces with him. Actually, he's going to come on the podcast as well, which is going to be good. Okay, so next question. This is from Total Huffball. Lewis, who's doing the washing up. Well, he'll probably be drying now, I should imagine. And he says, first foreign groundhop on your to-do list when restrictions lift. Now, Matt, is that going to be Portugal, or have you got any others in your repertoire?
I suppose Portugal is the one I'm eyeing up. But I don't know. I suppose after all this, what's been going on the last year, you do think, well, you've got to fit in the big ones on your bucket list now. And I'd still really like to go to Buenos Aires and go to Argentina and watch football. Whether I do that, I don't know. But that would be, if I had to pick like a dream bucket list, that would be, and to be honest with you, everyone says Boca Juniors, and that probably would be my number one, but they all look great there. So I'd be open to anything. So yeah, I don't know. Does the UK count as abroad to me now? I lose track because
I was just thinking that about Northern Ireland. So I think
I'd like to go to Tottenham's new stadium still, because I think I'm on 80 of the 92, but I was on a lot higher, but West Ham changed ground since I've left. Tottenham changed ground. Well, there you go. I'll answer. I'll be diplomatic and I'll say I can't wait to come to Shrewsbury.
I mean, we've got one. Nice one. You can come on again. Okay, Gibbo.
Milan. I think everybody's got to do the San Siro before it disappears. So yeah. Milan's the one I want to get done really quickly.
Nice one. I love that place. I'd love to go to Milan, but in fact, that's a place you could probably take the wife and just off your crack. Max?
So Portugal's just been brought up. So I always hate bringing this up because Emma always says I sound dead posh, but my dad owns an apartment in Portugal. And
lads, we've got another place we can go to. We've got another place we can go to.
Fly to Malaga. We'll have a weekend in Malaga, and then we'll spend the week travelling to Portugal, and we'll do Portugal the next weekend.
Finish up in Shrewsbury. What more do you want?
As long as it's school holidays, yeah?
Yeah, as long as it's school holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same, so we're all good.
In fact, we've got 3 teachers here.
There you go.
Very studious bunch.
Yeah, so the apartment's about 20 minutes from Portimonense, who's one of the lower teams in the Portuguese Premier League. So an interesting one to do, an easy one to get to. And there's one thing about our blog that I really want to get is the different sort of match day
experience.
Sort of and what people do. Obviously in England, you get the train, you go to the pub, you have a pie, whatever. What's it like there? I mean, obviously, you'll know about what it's like in Spain, the differences. But yeah, what's it like in Portugal? What do they do? Do they do the same as what they do here? Or
well, they do bloody shots in the bar in Malaga, don't they?
Look, while you're talking about going to different cultures and trying different food, we've got to go to one of the last games I went to with Gibbo in Sevilla, where Gibbo showed his expertise of the Spanish language by we were quite hungry. We drunk quite a lot of Cruz Campo, and we were watching Sevilla play Lazio, and Gibbo just went up to the food kiosk. Well, I'll let you say the line, Gibbo. It's your line.
Well, we wanted 2 hot dogs. So I go up to this blonde Spanish girl who's serving hot dogs and go like, "Hola, dos sausage, por favor."
My dad you're like my dad. My dad turns into an Italian hitman when he orders stuff in Spain. He always goes, and he starts the same way every time. He always goes, "Senor," like that. And it's like, what are you talking about? And then he always goes, "Dos burger and chips." Por favor. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Nate.
I got a couple on my list. I guess Milan's definitely been on my list for a long time. And I don't think I've ever been to Italy at all. So yeah, that's quite high up for obvious reasons. I wouldn't mind a weekend in Prague as well. Somewhere me and the missus could maybe go and see a few games. And then the other one, lockdown last year, I had quite a bit of time on my hands, and my dad had thrown a name at me, and he said, "Can you do some research about Bernard Oxley?" I was like, "Right, okay." And I said he played for Chesterfield and Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday. He said he managed a Dutch team. And he said, "Oh well, he's your great uncle." So anyway, so I'd done all this research. I thought there might have been a family tie when he asked, and so I wouldn't mind going to Holland and watching HVV Den Haag, who he managed 1939 to 1940. He was on the last boat out of Holland when the Nazis come in back to England. He was teaching English over there.
That's mad.
So yeah, so I wouldn't mind when lockdown and all this kind of eases is kind of visiting maybe Worksop because he played and managed those. Then going over to Den Haag with my dad and maybe just seeing if there is any links or if anyone actually knows anything about him more than what Wikipedia can tell me, really.
Don't trust Wikipedia.
Exactly.
On the bloody show, and I said, "Oh, scored over 100 goals," and he went, "Yeah, 255 actually." I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Wikipedia again. Do you know what? I think mine, and it's probably because of the bloody pictures he puts up all the time and the stuff he does. It's going to have to be Malaga. I want to go to Malaga because I want to see the game, and I want to just drink the beers he drinks and the shot. What are those shots you drink?
Pacharan, but it's not. That's not a Malaga thing. That's the tavern in Marbella thing. Pacharan's actually from Navarra, which is sort of Pamplona. But I think, British people, we love alliteration, don't we? So I think literally 20 years ago, Malaga won and someone said points mean Pacharan. And it stuck. So when I asked, why do we drink Pacharan when Malaga win? They all go, sounds good, doesn't it?
I love that. I absolutely love that. I lived in Gran Canaria when I was like 19 and worked in a couple of bars over there. And everywhere we went on a night out, we got three shots of, oh God, is it Ramazzotti or something? It's a cheap version of Jaeger, and it used to get me absolutely bollocks. I can't stand the smell.
Well, really. Gran Canaria was technically my last ground hop, really, because I was there 2 weeks before lockdown because Malaga played Las Palmas, and
love Gran Canaria.
That was my last trip, really. So yeah, that's.
We've got a couple of quick fire questions before I let you all go. So Jake Topless says, which ground is number one on your bucket list? We'll go to Nate. I'm going to you first, mate, because your face said it all there.
Yeah, maybe the San Siro. When Gibbo said it, I was like, yeah, it's up there, isn't it?
San Siro.
Yeah, San Siro. Let's not waffle on.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I sort of, when Gibbo said it and Nate said it, I thought, actually, yeah, I still really want to go to the San Siro. So San
Sounds
Siro.
like we're planning a trip here, boys.
Yeah,
European tour.
And actually, I've never watched the game in Italy, so that could quite easily be country number 20. I've been to a couple of places in Italy, but never for football. So yeah, I'm up for that.
Just say to the wife, it's a channel thing. I've got to go over and get this stuff. Got it sorted, lads. Gibbo, would it be Milan for you?
It's difficult because we're all saying this like logistically now, aren't we? Like San Siro has like an emergency kind of tick.
Yeah,
so we need to get it in. So yeah, it's San Siro. I'd really like to watch Venezia in Venice because we went outside the ground a couple of years ago when we went at like a lads' day out in Venice, and we got the boat up to the ground and it just looked incredible. So I'd love to watch it again.
Yeah,
they wear amazing shirts as well.
Yeah, I watched a game there not New Year's Eve, the 30th. I went for New Year's Eve a couple of years ago with the missus, and she joined me for a game. Yeah, I got the boat up to the ground, and yeah, it was quality. It was like €8 to get in or something. It was like an under-30s ticket, and a women's ticket was €8 each.
Yeah, and Zanetti's the manager at the minute.
Oh, is he? Oh.
Yeah, they did have Pippo Inzaghi as manager a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
They had to get the grandiose figures in as well.
Yeah. Max?
I feel like I've got to complete the sweep and say Milan. I think any ground that's soon to be demolished. Nate already mentioned Goodison Park is now going to be one to go, so that's got to be on the top of the list. There's the ones that we've lost and we didn't get to. I managed to get to Griffin Park, Brentford, so I'm glad I got that out of the way before they went. Obviously York and Boston near us have just moved, so they're ones that we've missed out on. So yeah, any ground that suddenly you find out that it's the final season there or whatever, you've got to go, ain't you? You've got to get it ticked before it goes.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Okay, we'll go to a couple more questions. I've got Russell Cox. First question. Oh, two. All right, Russ. You can have as many as you want, mate. What is the best pub near a ground you've been to? Mine is the Bull's Head near Port Vale. Fantastic real ale and cider section. Let's go to Gibbo. Gibbo, best pub.
You put me on the spot there, do you?
Yeah, I thought the same. That's a big question.
Oh,
I've got mine.
Right, I can't think of a specific pub, but when Matt and I went to Real Betis, and the streets, they just closed them off, and they weren't even pubs. They were literally like gaps this big in between shops.
Hops and dreams.
But that isn't near the ground.
Yeah, that's true. They give us.
You haven't listened to Russell's question properly.
Russell's sat at home absolutely fuming at that.
I bet he is. I would be too, Russ. Right. So I think Matt still can't tell me the name for this, but I think they called it like Bottiglia or something.
Yeah, but
where you just drink in the street outside the grounds, and it was a night game. It was against Rennes, and there were helicopters going over the top down the street, and it was like €2 for a litre of Cruzcampo, and people buying bottles of whiskey. And yeah, I think that would be any pub next to a ground over here.
Spot on.
Your answer is street.
Let's go to Max.
So I feel bad now because it's not exactly near a ground, but it's probably the best weekend I've had going to a football game was Blackpool. So Blackpool Crew, there's the Manchester bar on the front. I mean, it's the worst and the best bar. It's one of the people in there. You don't really want to be friends with them, probably. But it's a great laugh. They've got a DJ on at 11.
Yeah, I've been there.
And it's just fantastic. I've been to Shrewsbury, actually. It was last game of the season, and we were there for it was a Clubland weekender, so we were there for that. Yeah, it was about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It was last game of the season.
One on the pier?
Yeah, it's brilliant. But yeah, so Shrewsbury were playing Blackpool last game of the season, and we were in Manchester bar about 12 o'clock, trying to get over a hangover from the Friday night of this Clubland festival. All right, we'll go to Manchester bar, see what it's like. It's absolutely packed full of Shrewsbury fans, all going absolutely mental. I'm pretty sure they were mid-table, nothing to play for. But
they're make it personal. All right.
Yeah, and we were still hungover from the night before, thinking, right, we'll just go for a beer here. And the DJ's blaring out his tunes, they're dancing around, and it was just brilliant. We didn't even go to the game, but you just think this is the perfect pre-match bar.
Do you know what? I wish, because obviously with Shrewsbury, I wish you guys would have gone to the old stadium, the Game Edda, because the Game Edda, you've got next to it a pub called the Nag's Head, and it is absolutely a fantastic pub. The Nag's Head, you've got like the bar in the front, proper towny pub, and then at the back, massive beer garden, and the beer there is absolutely sublime. So maybe I'll take you there when you do the return leg.
He's already gone to the pub. He's had enough.
We'll go to
sweet cheesecake.
It's in the oven. Ping. We'll go to you, Nate.
Embarrassingly, I couldn't even name one.
Nate, I feel like when we all meet up for a beer, we're going to have to get you white girl wasted, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I
designated driver.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't drink, and I certainly drank quite a lot when I was a student. But like in recent years, I've kind of I normally work Saturday morning, so normally it's a bit of a rush getting in, and then I just go to a game, and I'm normally cutting it fine for kickoff. So all these blogs where you focus on the whole day, where you've had the train and you've got hours to spare, and you've sat speaking to some bloke in the pub, and it's brilliant, but it's never anything that I can ever comment on or relate to. So yeah, I'm not one for drinking at the football and that, because like I said, I'm normally always driving. But yeah, I'm sure if we did all go out together, I'd be able to keep up with you, I'm sure.
Have you ever driven? Oh, Max is back. Have you ever driven abroad?
No.
Oh,
so
you could have been the designated driver when we go to Spain, mate.
Oh, well. I mean, I've driven in Holland a little bit when I was working out there. But yeah, I could be the designated driver, or I could be the one that's can't walk before we even got to the game. So
let's go to Joe. Gibbo.
Well, I think it was a street near Real Betis. I thought that was quite a good
one. Of course it was, mate. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I did. It's been a long day. Give me a break. Matt.
Yeah, this is like Nate was saying, that's like in these blogs, that's not his cup of tea. I think me and Gibbo's cup of tea is writing about these sort of boozy trips, I suppose. So I've been just going through in my head, and there's quite a lot actually. So I try to put it down to two, and it's quite easy for me. Gibbo's been there. When I lived in Slovakia, I was very fortunate that I lived 5 minutes walk from the National Football Stadium, and I lived across the road from a real ale pub called Local Pub, which was like my second home. And everyone, like when I used to put photos on Facebook and stuff, everybody used to be like, we need to go to this bar. So I'm going to say Local Pub in Ternava. And the other one, just, I'm wearing my Malaga shirt, Bar Hermanas Madrid, which is where we drink before Malaga games. And it's just, everyone I've ever taken there, it's where all the Giris meet up. And it's just, everyone drinks their bottle of Victoria. So there's a bit of advertising for Victoria there. And yeah, it's just a nice atmosphere. And you can see the stadium like a couple of 100 yards away. And it's similar to what Gibbo said about Betis, actually. It is that sort of, you spill out into the street sort of thing, but you're sort of in a bar at the same time. So I think of so many answers for this, but they're just the two that come to mind.
I got Chris Sharp saying the tavern in Marbella was a decent place in between my two games. I've just got to get over there. When I was with Matt,
He was with me. I took him there. Yeah.
Brilliant, lads. Listen, absolutely loved this today. Absolutely loved it. I think it's come across really well. People have enjoyed it. We've had people stay the entire 2 hours and 5 minutes we've been on. I can't believe how quick that's gone. So we must know a bit of football between us to harp on for that long. So listen, I thank you all so much for coming on. Guys watching, if you don't know where to go already, I'm going to go around the table here. I'll go to Max first. Where can they find you, Max?
So got a Twitter site, so it's Emma's Ground Guide. Weirdly named, as it's a lot of it's run by me, but yeah, me and my girlfriend doing the ground hopping, rating everywhere we go, the day out, the pubs, the ground, the kit, the bar, everything about the day out, where we've been. We started it, well, annoyingly during this lockdown. We came up with the idea, so we've got a few grounds out of the way, hoping to get as many as we can in the future. So yeah, you can follow us on Twitter.
Spot on, fantastic. Nate?
If you want a blog that doesn't involve drinking, terracetraveller.wordpress.com, or social media, just find me Terrace Traveller, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm always up for a good chat if anyone slides into my DMs or anything like that. So
I love that saying, slide into my DMs. I feel dirty when I say that. Nice one, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Football in fields at the moment until we can go somewhere a bit better.
Football in fields. That's your name. That's a new name for your blog, mate. That is. Gibbo.
You can find me on Bebo, Pixel, MySpace. If you go on Google and type in Gibbos 92, you can read all of my blogs from the last 10 years. And I think they are getting a bit better as I get older.
Like that. Matt?
Yes, you can find me on dating websites in Marbella, apparently. If you want to ask me about putting cake in your face, apparently that's a new thing. But no, I'm at Matt Lost Bio. I think most ground hopping people know me from the blog I used to write a few years ago, Lost Bios, which is, I'd say it's very similar to Gibbo's. It's sort of like Gibbo's 92 and Lost Bios are like cousins almost. There's they're not quite the same, but they're related. But yeah, these days I do a Malaga podcast called GiriCast, so you can see that on Twitter at GiriCastPod, and yeah,
spot on. Well, guys, and what? Sorry.
And photos of pubs in Spain, which I know upset.
Photos of pubs, honestly, connoisseur. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. People who have been watching, thank you for sticking with us. And all that's left for me to say, as always, is be thinkers, not stinkers. Sayonara. Au revoir.